Reparations for Racial Injustice, Project 2029. A nation that ignores its past cannot build a just future. For centuries, Black Americans have been denied wealth, opportunity, and freedom, first through slavery, then through segregation, redlining, and mass incarceration. The legacy of systemic racism is not history, it is lived reality. Words alone cannot heal these wounds. Action must follow. The solution is clear: reparations for racial injustice. Direct investment in Black communities, homeownership programs, educational funding, and economic restitution are not handouts, they are overdue debts. Justice demands repair. This is not division, it is reconciliation. The wealth gap, health disparities, and economic barriers did not arise by accident. They were built by policy. They must be undone the same way. A nation that truly believes in equality must prove it through action. Action must follow principle. Demand reparations at local, state, and federal levels. Support policies that close racial wealth gaps. Elect leaders who acknowledge the past and work to correct it. Justice delayed is justice denied. America must pay what it owes, not out of guilt, but out of duty. The time for reparations is now. Key stats. 1. Staggering wealth gap. According to the Federal Reserve's Survey of Consumer Finances, the median wealth of white families is nearly 10 times greater than that of Black families, a gap that is the cumulative result of centuries of systemic discrimination, including slavery, segregation, and redlining. 2. Homeownership disparities. Due to historical and ongoing discriminatory lending and redlining practices, Black homeownership rates lag by about 15% compared to white households. This persistent gap continues to hinder generational wealth building and economic stability. 3. Educational funding inequities. Research shows that public schools in predominantly Black neighborhoods receive 40% less funding than those in predominantly white areas, a disparity that contributes to long-term socioeconomic disadvantages and limits upward mobility. 4. Health outcome gaps. Studies indicate that Black Americans have a life expectancy 5 years shorter than white Americans, a difference closely tied to unequal access to quality health care, chronic stress from discrimination, and the economic impacts of systemic racism. 5. Disproportionate incarceration rates. Black Americans are incarcerated at rates roughly 5 times higher than white Americans. This systemic over-incarceration not only devastates communities through lost income and family disruption, but also perpetuates the racial wealth gap by limiting future economic opportunities. Leading voices. 1. National Coalition of Blacks for Reparations in America. One of the earliest and most recognized reparations groups, NCOBRA has long called for comprehensive redress for slavery and its enduring legacies through public education, advocacy, and policy proposals. 2. Movement for Black Lives. A broad coalition of organizations representing Black communities nationwide. MBL includes reparations as a key demand within its platform for transformative justice and structural change to address historic and ongoing racial oppression. 3. Equal Justice Initiative. While EJI's work spans criminal justice reform, racial healing, and memorializing the legacy of racial violence, it's in-depth. Research, such as documenting the history of slavery, lynching, and mass incarceration, has been influential in shaping the reparations debate. 4. Reparations for All. A grassroots coalition, Reparations for All expands the conversation beyond direct financial compensation to include systemic reforms, community investment, and educational initiatives. Their approach seeks to address the multifaceted impacts of racial injustice. 5. Black Reparations Now. Focused on mobilizing communities and influencing policy, Black Reparations now unites activists, community leaders, and experts to push for concrete legislative measures. Their advocacy underscores the need for both symbolic and material redress to remedy the enduring harms of slavery and systemic racism. 10 steps. 1. Conduct a comprehensive historical and policy audit map out the legacy of racial injustice, from slavery through segregation, redlining, and mass incarceration, by documenting existing policies and their ongoing impacts on Black communities. This audit will provide a robust, evidence-based framework to support targeted reparations proposals. 2. Build a broad-based coalition for reparative justice. Bring together community leaders, scholars, civil rights organizations, and activists dedicated to racial equity by hosting initial summits to align on a unified reparations agenda. This coalition will consolidate resources and amplify a collective voice to drive national change. 3. Develop a detailed reparations legislative agenda. Draft a prioritized list of proposals, including direct investments in Black communities, homeownership programs, educational funding, and economic restitution, with clear, measurable benchmarks. This agenda will serve as a concrete roadmap for lawmakers to enact overdue policies for true racial justice. 4. Launch an informed public awareness campaign. Utilize historical data and personal narratives to craft a compelling campaign that explains the systemic roots of racial injustice and the necessity of reparations, leveraging multi-platform media and community forums. This initiative will build broad public support and transform abstract grievances into a rallying cry for justice. Engage in strategic lobbying and policy advocacy. Present the legislative agenda to local, state, and federal officials through targeted meetings, policy briefings, and public hearings, backed by comprehensive research and personal testimonies. This effort will secure commitment from key policymakers and pave the way for reparations legislation. 6. Mobilize grassroots activism and community organizing. Coordinate local advocacy groups to hold rallies, organize town halls, and execute digital campaigns while providing community members with advocacy toolkits and training. This grassroots mobilization will create sustained pressure on decision-makers and ensure the demand for reparative justice remains at the forefront. 7. Establish a dedicated legal framework and rapid response team. Assemble a team of legal experts and advocates prepared to challenge obstructive policies and defend new reparations measures in court, ensuring swift legal intervention when needed. This framework will provide immediate recourse and safeguard progress against setbacks. 8. Implement transparent monitoring and accountability measures. Set up independent oversight bodies and employ technology to track the implementation and impact of reparations programs. Coupled with regular public reporting on progress and challenges, these measures will guarantee that reparative actions are effectively executed and remain accountable to the communities they serve. 9. Leverage electoral politics for systemic change. Identify and support candidates committed to reparative justice by organizing voter registration drives and targeted education campaigns that emphasize the need to close racial wealth gaps. This strategy will help reshape the political landscape, ensuring elected leaders prioritize policies that address historical inequities. 10. Institutionalize reparative policies for enduring impact. Collaborate with government agencies, educational institutions, and community organizations to embed reparations into long-term policy frameworks, including the creation of dedicated commissions or offices to oversee ongoing efforts. This institutionalization will transform temporary measures into a permanent commitment to racial equity and justice for future generations.